Hi guys, welcome to a new TheLab tutorial from Product VFX School. Today, this is our first Houdini tutorial. So today we are going just to introduce the software, and we will start. We are not talking about all feature and all buttons and the complete user interface, but we are going to use the feature and the stuff step by step. So the idea is to create something, and during the lesson we'll see how to use some stuff inside Houdini. You know, Houdini is for a lot of artists it seems a really complex software. Maybe that's true in part, but you know, you have just to understand how it works. So that's the main issue. You have to know how to use it, and you know, if you'd like to create really complex stuff, maybe you have to know some scripting, or for example some stuff related to the language inside Houdini, and you have to know some maths and stuff like that. But you know, there are various levels of usage for Houdini, so you can use this software with a different approach, a more artistic approach. So we're trying to use it in a different way, and maybe in the future we are going to use more complex stuff. So the first idea is to import some stuff from our shader ball scene created with 3ds Max, and we are going to make the first setup of rendering with Redshift in Houdini. So there are different ways to create the stuff we are going to do, but this time we will try to set up a really simple scene. So I exported from 3ds Max all pieces to be merged inside Houdini. So we have to start. We can work in the scene node user interface there in this panel. And we are going to merge in the obj. You know, we have different layers there, and we have to work on the obj. In the obj, we are going to merge the various layers from the Alembic file. I like to create some different geometry using the Alembic file. So we can create a node, and you can create using the right mouse button, you see, and we can write to use the search, and you see we can move inside the search engine. You can press the tab key and then you can write. In this way we can create, for example, a geometry, and then you can click to create the geometry. You see that geometry actually has just a bounding box. We go to rename this one, and let's call it, for example, teapot. Now if you double click over the node, we go inside the node. You see that we are inside obj teapot. Actually, for default, we have a node, the file, and it is able to load geometry file in various file formats. We can remove this one. So the teapot is still available, but we have to put something inside this geometry. So again, tab key, and we go for Alembic, and we open the first one. So we have an Alembic file, and let's call it, for example, teapot ABC, just to be sure that we have something readable inside our node. You see that when we select a node, we have inside the, let's say, the attribute editor there, all the stuff related to this node. So to make it simple, let's go to load some stuff. Let's go in the job, because I put the folder, everything inside the folder. Let's load teapot. Okay, so back in the obj, and in the viewport, let's go to move back with the Alt, and then we can use the right mouse button for the zoom, the middle mouse for the pan, and the left mouse for the orbit. So that's our teapot actually, you see, that's our geometry. And we can obviously move it and stuff like that, it's not a problem. So then let's go to create a new geometry. So back to geometry, and let's call this one plastic. Double click, let's remove this one, and again tab, alembic, and we can load the plastic level, and let's call it plastic ABC. Back in the OBJ, you see that you can move a node where you like, but when you are near another node, we have an automatic align to the first one to have a nice looking setup for the nodes there. So you see that there we have both objects. We can move forward and put a new geometry. Let's go fast because it is just simple. So let's call this one Chrome ball. And inside, let's remove this one. Tab key. You know, if you have more space, you will see that you are able to find in the history of the tab menu the stuff you called before. So you have the alembic without problem, you can create from there. Let's call Chrome ABC, and job models, and let's go for Chrome. Okay, some stuff needs to be moved, but it is not a problem, we can move it where we like. So actually we are not working on complex stuff like constraint, align, tools and stuff like that, so don't care about it. We are going to do more complex stuff when needed. So this is just an introduction. So let's go to have something like that. Okay. Okay, so we have the first one, that's the Chrome ball. Let's go to save our scene. Inside there, let's call it shader ball 01. Okay, nice. So let's go to create a new geometry, and let's call it white ball, and inside let's remove the file, and again right mouse button, alembic, and this one is the white ABC. Okay, let's go in the back in the object, and we have to move this one. This one is, let's right mouse button over translate, copy parameters, then we can select this one, right mouse button and pass value. So we have in the same position, and then we have just to move over one axis. This can be a fast way to do it. Okay, nice. Another one, so geometry, and we go for the last one, and let's call it gray ball, and inside we remove the file, right mouse button, and we go for an alembic, and this one is the gray ABC. Let's go to load the latest model, that's the gray ball. Back in OBJ, and again right mouse button, copy value, and then we go to move it you don't need to be precise, so don't take care about the stuff at that moment. We like just to create something nice in rendering. Okay, so we have this composition. Maybe we can save back. And we need another piece because, you know, we have just a crumble there. So let's go for another geometry, and this one will be the let's call it ground. And inside, let's remove the file, right mouse button, Alembic, and we go to load the models, and we go for pre-ground, a new name, ground ABC, back in the OBJ. So this one, let's see where it's put. Okay, it needs to be rotated, so you know, it was just exported by another artist, so it was not checked. That's not a problem, we can move it manually. Okay, you see that this high. Okay, so if you use the right mouse button inside the value, you see we can move it, and then you can move up or down to have the speed of the spinner you are using. So save. Okay, we have our first scene. That's simple, it is nothing so complex. Oh, we have another object to pick. So right mouse button, geometry, and let's put it there, and this one will be the color table. Let's remove the file and back Alembic. Let's call it color ABC, and we go to load inside the model the color table. Okay, let's select the color table and let's go to move it. Okay, it needs to be rotated, this one too. Let's go for something like that. The W is the wireframe shortcut. Okay, something like that should be fine. Maybe we can scale it a little bit. Sorry, and then we can move it again. Okay. Let's go for something like that. Save. We have no camera. You see that there we have no cam. We can press over new camera. In this way we have this camera. So if we go to move there the actual position of this viewport, we have no changes on the camera. To make changes to the camera, you have to lock. So this is locked over camera 01, and this way we are changing the camera. Then if you like to make changes just to the viewport, you have to unlock. Okay, nice. So we have also this one. This is the camera. So let's start, obviously also there with the Alt key, right mouse button, you have the zoom, and with the middle mouse you have the pan. So let's start to create some clean stuff there. So let's select all geometry, press this button, is the create bounding network box. You can use also the Shift O. Let's scale it a little bit, and let's call it with a double click geometries. Okay, so now when you move this one, it works and it is a network, and you can access directly to the nodes inside it. It's not a problem. Using the G key, you see that we have a color. So if we select a network box, you can select also a color for the box. So you can decide to find the best way to make some nice coloring for the stuff you have inside the camera, inside the scene. So that's the camera, and there we can create another box. That's not a problem. Let's make a little bit more bigger because maybe we can use more cameras. And this one can be cameras. Okay, let's start preparing the scene for Mantra, and then we'll see how to move to another rendering engine. So to render something, it seems a complex stuff because, it is not possible to render the scene without a render output. So, inside the networks, we have output, and there you have to put the output, so the rendering engine you have to use. Using the right mouse button, now we have render, and you see that we have, for example, Mantra. That's the internal rendering engine from side effects, and we have, for example, Redshift. So let's put Mantra there. Okay, nice. We have all the settings for Mantra actually, so and that's all the information we have to use for the rendering. And just to be sure, I go lower with the sampling, just to something simple. We'll talk about rendering in a future tutorial. It's not a problem. So now we need a light, obviously. So right mouse button, and inside render we can put, for example, the environmental light. Okay. Let's create. Maybe later we can create. Sorry. Or maybe we can stay with this one using the C key. Sorry, C key. Okay, and let's call it light thing. Okay, C key. Save. Now we have an environmental lights. It's like a dome. So if we like to have a real-time rendering, an interactive rendering, we have to go to render view. We have render. You see that it's generating the scene. It's preparing the scene, and now it's rendering. So you see, it's interactive, so we can manipulate the scene as we like. So for example, for the moment, let's scale this one, and let's go in the rendering. Sorry, let's go inside material, so we are able to create some shaders for our scene. Right mouse button, you see that we have a lot of stuff. And again, let's go back to the material, and we have the let's make more space there to give you the possibility to see what we are trying to do. You see that we have, for example, there inside materials, we have the material for Redshift, but in this time we are using Mantra. So we can go inside the shaders, and we go for the principles shader. So that's the Disney shader, and let's call it ground. This one will be the ground. So back inside the object, select the ground, go inside, and you see that there we have the mesh, and let's go back to the ground, and inside render we have the possibility to choose the material we like to do. We'll see in a coming tutorial also how to use other ways to add the material. So let's click there, and you see that we have choose operator. We have inside the material, we have ground, accept, and now the material is set to, let's go to render. So it will update the rendering during our material tweaks. So back to the material, it is generating the material, and now it is rendering. By the way, we have this material, and we'll try to do something really simple. So let's change the color to something like you see that it is updating step by step. Okay, let's go with something like that for the color. And you know, this is a the principle, so it's really simple to use. Actually, we are going to use, you see, we have the IRR. Let's go for 1.6. That's the roughness, and we go, you know, in this way we have metallic. It is completely not metallic. We go to see, if we go to metallic, you see that we have a lot of reflection. So we can go lower with something like maybe 0.5, so it is partially metallic. The roughness is set to 0.3. It can be enough. Sorry. Let's go back to the object, and inside the lighting, let's go for an environment map. So in this way we can choose which is the map we are going to use for the lighting. So I'm going to use something used before for rendering, so let's see if we have something there. Textures, we should have something like, maybe it's one. It's not a big issue. So it is obviously restarting to prepare the lighting, and you see it is starting to light using this this image. So we can change the light exposure, for example, to have a little bit more lighting. We can go higher, and obviously we can decide how much lighting we like to have. So back to the material. Actually, we have the ground material. It's the simple material, nothing special. So let's go back to have a new principle, and this one is the chrome. And let's go in the material object. We choose the chrome ball, and inside render, let's go for the chrome. Accept. Back in the material, you see we are using a Houdini. In a way, you can use any other kind of software. So we are doing lighting without any issue. It's not so complex in this way. So let's say that this one has maybe, let's say 4, and let's say that it is completely metallic. Let's go back to the basic way to choose it, and let's go with a low roughness, nothing so high and so special. Okay, we can create a new principal shader. Everything will be really simple. I'm not trying to do any complex shading. Let's go for the black plastic. So black plastic. Sorry. Let's go for a black color, and let's go for 5.9. And about the reflectivity, I mean, maybe we can go higher with the roughness, but I like to see how it looks before. So object and plastic, render. Oh, sorry, I'm doing everything chromed. So black plastic. Okay, back in the plastic, in the material. Okay, let's do it a little bit with more roughness. Okay, nothing bad. So you see, really simple stuff, nothing so complex for the moment. Maybe in coming tutorial we'll see how to play with more complex stuff. So let's go with the principal shaders again, and this one will be the color table. Okay, so let's make a little bit of space, open the surface, and then let's go with a texture. So okay, we can connect the color to the base color, and this one is stopped, but we can have it back to render. And now we can go to have the texture we like to have. We are going to change nothing there, so we go just to pick our texture. Actually, you will see that it's going to render. You see that we have nothing. By the way, let's go in the objects and say that over the the color table, we are using the color table. Okay, back into the material. You see that it is giving this texture is let's say maybe C table txt. Okay, you see it is using a texture, the full texture there, but we're going to use something, this one. Okay, so if we like to close, you see that we have, we have there three icon. You see this one is open, just the nodes we are using, the parameter we are using, and everything closed. Okay, so we can go with something like that just to have more space. I don't want to do nothing on this material, so I'm just going to remove the reflectivity, so we'll have no reflection, maybe just a little bit, nothing special, just thinny reflectivity. We can stay with roughness 0.3, and we leave all the other parameters as we have. So then we have to create the gray sphere. So let's create a new principled shaders, and this one can stay there. Let's call it gray ball. We do also the white one, so move it there, and let's call it white ball. Let's go to assign the material inside the object network, and so plastic white. So the white will have the white ball, and the gray will have the gray ball. So back in the material, and the first one is the gray. Let's go with 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, and then we go to have maybe 1/6. The reflectivity is enough. Maybe we go to have a little bit more roughness. The white ball, let's go for something clear, so okay, something like that. And the same, we can have enough reflectivity. Maybe on the first one, the gray ball, maybe we can go lower. Let's go for 0.3 for the roughness to have less glossy reflectivity. Okay, and then back, I'd like to make some changes to the black plastic. So you see it is really clear. I mean, it is gray, so let's go for less roughness, and let's go for less reflectivity. It is not a really a realistic plastic, you know, because we should use, for example, the subsurface scattering, so it is nothing special. Let's go a little bit less, and let's go higher with the roughness. Okay, something like that is more interesting. Nice. And now we can do something for the teapot, but before I'm going to save. It takes just a little bit of time because it is also rendering. And let's go in the, we have no material for the teapot, so let's create a new shader there. Let's go for a principal shader again, and this one can be called teapot. Back in the material, back in the object, and the teapot will have the teapot shader. Back to the material, and there we can play a little bit with this material. We can make something nice, maybe some, not sure if we can do sunglasses there. By the way, let's go with the black because it depends on how the material is. Sorry, the mesh was exported from 3ds Max. So let's go with no reflectivity, and we get to have the transparency. Let's go to the maximum. Okay, nice. And then we can have the dispersion, for example. You see we have the subsurface scattering. It is simple, this material to be used. Let's go with the transmission color. By the way, we have the roughness there, so let's go to have no roughness for the transparency. So you see we have perfect refraction. And back to the transmission, if you like to make some maybe colors, you see that's really too much. We can go for something less visible, and then we can, for example, make more transparency just using an higher value for the distance. Okay, so let's say maybe 45, and you see that it's changing something, so it depends on the density of the mesh, but it's starting to have something more interesting. The error area is this one, so it is using the specular one. We can go for something lower to 1.34. And obviously we can have back our reflectivity because actually it was 0. So you see we can have back the reflection, so we have reflection and refraction. And we can, for example, work to have also the dispersion. To the dispersion, you can play with the dispersion value there. By the way, if you like, you can, for example, pause the rendering, and when you like, you can restart it. So another thing interesting for the rendering, you see that we are using the render view there, but maybe you can have the possibility, if you like, to use the scene view. We have there back the our viewport, and there we have this icon, that's the render region. So let's select, for example, this area, and you see it is ready, and we can press render. Then it will take a little bit just to prepare the stuff to start rendering, obviously. So you have to wait just a little bit for the scene preparation, and then it will start. So as you see, now we have the rendering in viewport, and that's interesting because you have no needs to go inside the render view, and you can, for example, move this area. You see that is updated, and you have the corner there, so you can, for example, choose another area, and you see that we have the bar to see how much rendering is done. And there, if we go back to work with this one, we can have, for example, this time we go to have something different, something like let's say maybe let's say yellow there, and let's go for a completely metallic material. You see that it's starting to be similar to something like gold. And let's go for a little bit of anisotropy. And then we get to have a little bit of roughness. So if you like, for example, then you can add, let's say the coat, and obviously it will be a layer over the reflection, so you will have some more precise and sharp reflectivity over there. So let's say that this one would be lower, so just a little bit over the actual material. And sorry, maybe we can go a little bit higher there. So we have a mixture of material. We have roughness over the first one, and we have no roughness over the second one. And let's go to see a bigger area there. It is using the parameters we are going to use inside the output. So it is using this mantra node. Let's save back. Obviously we'll see also how to use redshift to render, to do same things, to do lighting and materials and all the other stuff needed. Obviously today it is not the time to create something really complex, but you know, we can have an higher value for the max ray samples, and we can say to search for a lower level of noise. And there are more stuff we have to search for example the noise, and we have also to so there are more stuff. I think I have some problem with the antivirus. Yes, I have some problem with the protection of the software. It's not a problem I have, just to take care about it. So you know, when you have some kind of problem like this one, you see that we have the attention alert there, and you can have just to move over the icon, press there, and you will have all the information needed. So I have a problem to solve with the protection of my workstation, so it's not a big problem. For sure I think we have problems with the glossy and also maybe the global illumination, so we should work over it, but actually I'm not taking care about it. Just to give you more information, you know that there we have the rendering engine. If you like to have the more precise rendering, you have to use the physical basis rendering, and obviously it will be better than the standard ray tracer. It takes just a little bit more to prepare the scene, and then you can use it without problem, as you can see. Let's wait for a nicer looking image. It will be no noise free, because obviously we have to take care about all the shading parameters. But we will talk about it in a coming videos. It's not a problem. But you know, that's just an introduction. In this way we know, for example, how to merge some ABC from another software. Then we know how to move a little bit inside the interface, how to set the render, and actually we know just how to work in the viewport. Obviously, by the way, it's not a big pain. We know how to create some standard materials, and that's the main stuff we are trying to do. If you like to render the image, obviously we are not taking care about all the other stuff. You have just to output the pictures. Actually, we are not using the folder, so you can directly, maybe you see there we have no folder, so maybe we can go inside the job and then call it render test, and we leave maybe we can directly use this folder, so you can save directly there. So we can use this one, and let's write it there, and let's remove this one. Okay, in this way we can, for example, at the end say render to disk, and it will render the current frame to the HD, and he will go to save the scene using this path. We'll see also how to take care about the naming. You see that the naming convention needs to be changed if we like. So actually we are using just the standard one. You see that the progress bar is going to be over really soon, so let's wait just a little bit. We can have maybe more glossy over this one and this one. You see the glossy level is not so low, so let's go there just to make these tweaks. So move over there, material and the gray ball, and let's go for maybe 6, and the white ball 6. It should be better in this way. That is better. Nice. Okay, that's all for this first tutorial. It's really simple. We'll move deeper and deeper inside the rendering and the lighting and all the shading stuff. And obviously we'll have more stuff related to effects, so everything is nice to be done in Houdini, so explosion, clouds, demolition, and ocean stuff, fluids, etc, etc. And as you know, talking about the rendering, we'll see also how to do the same stuff, so playing with the scene like this one using Redshift. So we'll take care about CPU rendering and GPU rendering. So thanks for all, and we'll see you soon for a new tutorial from TheLab by Produce VFX School. Bye.